So we find out who you are, what do you do during the production. There's a fair few of you. Yeah, we can start.
I'm Drew, the director.
I'm Jill, who was Hannah.
I'm James, who played Jonah.
I'm Chloe, I played Alice.
I'm Glenn, the DP.
I'm JD, I did post-production sound.
I'm Paul, I did sound recording and the making of doc.
And we've got one more.
Oh, hi. I'm Ian, I'm the line producer.
There we go. Big crowd in today.
And I'm Jonnie Hurn, I played Hardy and was one of the producers.
I was just wondering, guys, we're going to do, I'm going to ask a few questions and then we're going to kind of shift out to the audience. I was just wondering where this all started out, kind of where was the first spark, who had the idea and how did it go on from there?
It's pretty much down to me, I think. It was kind of a very personal story. It was inspired by the loss of my own brother. So in that sense, that was the emotional source of it. The events are mostly fictional, but yeah, I don't know. It came from various things. That and the desire to do a kind of road trip thing as well, and just sort of travel around the country, thinking there's a way of making a cheap film, essentially, or a low budget film, but having a bit of production value because you've got that spectacular scenery.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it was a sort of cathartic writing exercise, and the filming as well, sort of just splurging out of emotion.
Okay.
And it kind of grew from that, I suppose.
You mentioned the budget. I was just wondering, I mean, how easy was it to get? We've got someone from finance here, don't we? Someone. How easy? I was wondering how easy it was to. I was wondering how easy it was to raise the budget and what that process was like as well.
Oh, that'd be a question for one of the producers.
Go for it, Jonnie.
I had nothing to do with raising the budget. There wasn't really a budget to raise, to be honest. It was all done very, very cheaply. I think we only paid for one location, that was the church. All we spent money on was essentials, insurance, travel expenses,
cigarettes,
catering, cigarettes, alcohol.
And just with some help,
panic
some
attacks.
Great collaborators, really.
Yeah, it's a big team effort. What money we did need, I kind of fittingly pilfered from some small inheritance that I got from my own sort of situation, which seemed right and fitting. So yeah, that just sort of helped see us through and feed us.
I should mention at this point that Drew and James and Jonnie were here last year. Were at Raindance last year. I don't know, maybe some of the rest of you were as well, with a film called Monk3ys, which won our Best Micro-Budget Award. So that was pertaining to the budget. I was also wondering, after Monk3ys, because I saw Monk3ys and I reviewed it, and after Monk3ys I was wondering what kind of prompted you to go into doing something monochrome for a start, and so narrative as opposed to Monk3ys being quite about character. Why that shift?
Well, I mean, because who wants to do the same thing again? There's always a desire to do something new, something different, and also, as I say, really the impetus behind it is how can you make micro-budget film? One way of doing it was the Monk3ys way, which was put 3 people in one room, have a bunch of cameras, and let the actors go for it, and kind of you get what you get, which was kind of the foundation of Monk3ys. This had a very different philosophy, which was okay, we're not going to have one location, we have lots of locations, but we're going to have not many actors at a time. So there's lots, obviously, of James on his own. So you can imagine that that's actually fairly low maintenance filmmaking. There's a few of us and James and travelling around the landscape. So it kind of appealed in that sense as another way of stretching the micro budget. But also, as I say, to do something different and tell a story, really.
Right. And what challenges did you face shooting in monochrome? What was the most interesting things about it? What were the shortcomings?
Well, we actually shot in colour on the Panasonic GH2, and the monochrome process was handled in post. Drew always said to me he wanted to make that bleed through into colour during the final act after the scene on the beach. So that was all filmed correctly in colour. I've always loved black and white personally. I grew up on it. It's the first film stocks I ever shot was black and white, so it's ingrained in me as a beautiful discipline to be able to just work in different tones and build depth within a two-dimensional frame with light and shade. So for me it was an absolute pleasure. And even when it does bleed through to colour, we always wanted a muted colour anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I was also, one last question from me before I open it out, about the music. Where did you find it? What were the influences behind getting that soundtrack?
Have we got any of Hokey here? Did they sleep? No. Well, I'm a musician as well, and so a lot of the score was kind of by someone very close to me called Husky Jack. But the songs are also provided by a band I know, Hokey Joint. They're a good bunch of lads, live out in Essex. And it just being a sort of semi-personal, not autobiographical, but kind of personal story. Music is very meaningful to me, so that it was just me being selfish, really. I just wanted that kind of music in the film. It was the character I saw. I wanted to do some of the score myself, so that's basically it, really.
Fab. Can I take any questions from out here?
Yeah, for one. Leading on from music, did you write any of the music while you were writing the script? Or did it all come in later afterwards?
It all came in afterwards. Why are you not down here?
I've nothing to do with it.
Faulkner.
The lady sitting next to me.
Get down here. That's our production designer sitting next to John. He's skiving off the Q&A. No, it was written pretty much after the event. Just once I'd cut it, just kind of working through themes, and then where's Chris? Is he not here either? Good Lord. You're another skiver. Good God. I've shamed him, he's going to come down. Here's our composer extraordinaire that turned my acoustic scribblings into much better works of music. And kind of jumped off from where I sort of started sketching and made sense of it. So Chris, there's a question for you there. Jump in.
Yeah. Drew sent me some noodles, about an hour's worth of music, and I basically cut it up and stretched bits and just found the right cues to fit in the right places. So it was a joint effort, really, wasn't it? And I wrote some other cues in other places, didn't I?
Nice bit of strings.
So I had some strings and other guitars. So I had Bob Russell on guitar and Will Greener on harmonica.
Is he here? Is Will here? No.
No, Will's not here, was he?
Any other questions? Yes, please.
James, with some of the scenes quite emotional. How do you build yourself up for that, and how do you affect you afterwards?
Well, I suppose there's many a level in there. So I mean, I suppose someone of my age would be very, very lucky and fortunate if they've not had some kind of sadness and grief. So it's just about picking the right level of emotion, really, and memory. A few little tricks you pick up in acting classes and whatnot. And then some of it's all about imagination and creating certain scenarios that most actors probably tell you that they'll never actually tell you exactly what they was thinking at the time, because some of it's a little bit too damaging and deep. But on the road trip, it was quite apparent at times. There was a little bit of a tetchiness from me, wasn't there, at times? So
layers.
Yeah, there was layers. We call them layers, and I peeled off a certain amount of layers for certain scenes. And for some of them, like the beach, for example, at the end, there was quite a number of layers off, and it took quite a while to actually get back to any level of normality after that. But fortunate enough, we had quite a good
Chloe
time.
to bring you back down to earth.
Yes, exactly. There you go. So I mean, it's it's all about what kind of level we want to reach at the time. I think we was trying to get to a point where I was getting obviously upset and frustrated. I didn't really want to go the full hog though until the scene at the end when you actually do see me cry a little bit as well. And I was trying to hold back a few little tears for that. It was difficult at times, because that's why a lot of times I'm rubbing my eyes and touching my face and that, because I don't really want to see anything flowing at that point in that. But yeah, and that was quite difficult because there was a level of positivity about that end scene as well, and that, but I really wanted to let it go. So it was just about trying to get the balance right, really. So a mixed bag, really, is the answer to that. It's just about picking the right awful memory, really. Sometimes.
I was wondering what the rehearsal process was like between yourself, James, and Drew, and between Drew and the rest of the cast, because I imagine it would have been quite intense, quite a personal rehearsal.
I think like the hardest part for me was just having to kind of act opposite nobody, really.
Yeah.
It seems I'm actually talking to nobody. It's it's probably the toughest assignment I've ever had, and obviously I had to put a lot of trust in Drew, not only as a director, but because he edited the thing as well. It's a case of a lot of skill in that.
Yeah. How did you
area.
deal with that in rehearsal? Did you have somebody stand in sometimes? Did you or did you just do it on your own every time to get used to it?
Well, there was always someone there, but it was by and large just it was just going for it, and with a little bit of direction, just trying to find that right sort of level.
It kind of was a rehearsal. Because the way a lot of the when he's on his own, the way it's cut is obviously it's quite disjointed. There's a bit here, and we kind of did the whole thing in lots of different places and did it lots of different ways. So it was almost like that rehearsal process of right, now try it this way, now try it that way. But we were filming it all, so in a sense, there's not many scenes where you've got a continual performance, is there? Because it's kind of jumping between. A lot of it's done in the edit, obviously.
Yeah. We did a few different varying degrees of the same scene that we like all the time. So yeah, it's just about the edit, really, I think.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, please.
James again.
Hello, John.
You down here either?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And you got the nerve to ask a question.
James, the scenes between you and Jonah. Percentage of Rafe, sorry, percentage of scripted to improv.
Yeah, no, good question. I mean,
And being deaf was the sort of tragedy of a musician going deaf, which was not in any way biographical. But JD, that was kind of a question for you, really.
Yeah. Bearing in mind Rafe's character is hit by deafness. One of the things that Drew talked about sort of fairly early on was tinnitus. And I sort of canvassed opinion on what some people knew, who had tinnitus, what they heard. And the high-pitched whistle, especially a sort of atonal thing, seemed to be fairly consistent, with sort of a few other things coming in, like the sort of loss of high frequency, which when there are shots where it's kind of from Rafe's point of view, sort of taking the top end off that, so just to trying to make it a little bit more obvious that it wasn't what was heard in the room, but also referencing sort of the hearing loss. And thank you.
I thought it was me, so.
Yeah, no, it was intended to be irritating, so I'm glad you're on.
Did you forgive the irritatingness?
Oh, totally. It was very
in the end.
It was really, really good.
Thank you.
Good. Phew.
Thank you.
It was quite loud at one point.
Yeah.
And one last one from anyone else? I'll go for one. I was just wondering what your guys' next project is. I mean, you've done one last year, you've done one this year. What's next in the...
we're kind of in the middle of one.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, broke from filming.
You can talk about that, Ian. You haven't talked much.
There you go. Yes, tell us about it, Phil.
What do I say? Everything or not much?
Act it out now.
Yeah. It's kind of the book of Genesis in reverse.
Simple as that.
There we go.
That's all you're saying.
Yeah. Shot through a pinhole.
Okay. Cryptic yet intriguing. Well,
vast amounts of nudity in it.
Yeah.
Even better. Raindance film. Right. Thank you very much for being here, guys. It was an absolute pleasure watching the film, and we'll keep an eye on how you do. Big round of applause for our filmmakers here.